club today, we have CBS Sports JP Acosta going to pinch hit for Austen Lane, who, as you just heard on the Brent and Austin show, is off to catch a flight for Down Under in Australia, where he will be in the corner, I believe, for Roman Tavares this weekend. Shout out to Austin, shout out to Roman, shout out to Duval's UFC MMA fighting scene. We will break down the Jaguars' 17-10 victory over the Houston Texans, dive inside the numbers, what we can expect when the Jaguars travel to San Francisco for the first time since 2017 for a Week 4 showdown, potentially with Mac Jones. All that and more, plus you guys, you're hanging out in the club. Let's have some fun. The club is going up on a Tuesday. Welcome into Club 904. I am your host, Mia O'Brien, here live at the Action Sports Jax podcast studios. It's been a hot minute. Happy to be back with the boys following the Brent and Austin show, which, of course, you can catch on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel each and every weekday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can check us out on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. And, of course, if you haven't already, be sure to check out our post-game podcast that we do at 9:04 p.m. each and every Sunday immediately following the Jacksonville Jaguars games. I know we're approaching Monday Night Football, and maybe that schedule will be fluctuated a little bit. We'll have more on that next week because let's not put the cart before the horse, folks. The San Francisco 49ers await the Jaguars, but before we look to that matchup, we have to first evaluate what we saw this past weekend at Everbank Stadium between your Jacksonville Jaguars and those hated Houston Texans. Before I dive into some numbers and notes that I've put together, our friend Daniel Griffiths here with Action Sports Jax has put together, want to encourage you to get involved with the show. I've seen a couple of you, Ether Dark, I'm looking at you, who've already tweeted at JP and myself with questions you have regarding this second victory of the season for the Jaguars, questions about the sustainability on offense and defense of this operation. So give us a shout. Either comment if you're watching on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, wherever you're listening from. We'll be sure to answer those questions, as many as possible live. We'll also hit a couple of those Twitter questions since I put out the bat signal for that this morning as well. JP going to join us at 1:20, but before he does, do want to hit some news and notes. Then we'll get to those number crunching stats and numbers that Daniel Griffiths put together. I've seen our friend Gus Logan, John Shipley, and I want to hit a couple of those to set the table for JP's 1-2-step film breakdown as he steps in for Austen Lane. So let's start with this. Bo Hardegree will call plays in Tennessee as Brian Callahan, in case you just missed it, about half hour ago, has relinquished duties. He is focused on the operation as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. He will not be calling the plays moving forward. Why is that relevant to a Jaguars podcast? Well, that is because, of course, the Jaguars hate the Titans, and the Jaguars do play the Tennessee Titans, not for a couple of weeks. I don't know if Brian Callahan's going to be the head coach by the time the Jaguars face him. If you disagree, be sure to hit us in the comments with your thoughts on the situation up there in Nash Vegas. And so it'll be a different play caller for the Tennessee Titans for Week 4, different quarterback for the New York Giants. Again, in case you're just joining us, hitting some highlights from around the National Football League before we dive into your Jaguars. Jackson Dart will start for the New York Giants against the 3-0 Los Angeles Chargers this weekend. The Jaguars will face the Chargers in November. Mike Evans out 3 to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury, similar to the injury he suffered last year when Liam Coen was his offensive coordinator. Obviously, thinking about our friends in Tampa Town, especially for those of us that have Mike Evans on their fantasy team. And finally, other biggest note from around the National Football League here, in my estimation, in the last 48 hours as it relates to your Jaguars. Nick Bosa is indeed out for the season with a torn ACL, his second such knee injury. What does that mean for the Jaguars game Sunday in the Bay Area? We will hit that with JP Acosta coming up in just a little bit. The Houston Texans are 0-3 for the first time since, I believe they were 0-3. Yes, they were in 2022. The Jaguars may or may not have handed them their first victory of the season, and that was after the Jaguars started 2-1. The last time they started 2-1 back in that 22 season, they are 2-1 once more. But the Houston Texans are also one of the only teams to ever go 0-3 to begin a season and then make the postseason. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. And that's where I think it's important that we do look back, we evaluate and take stock in what we saw from your Jacksonville Jaguars this past weekend. The Texans this season, they are the only team in the last 20 seasons to start 0-3 despite allowing just 55 total points. They will potentially be a top 10 defense. but still not make the postseason because the average passing success rate in the National Football League since the start of the 2024 season is around 45% per game. The Texans have topped that number just 4 times since the start of the 2024 season. And the last time that they had a 45% success rate or above was last Halloween. And so I don't want to say those stats to belittle all of the Jaguars numbers that I'm going to run through from NFL Pro Focus and PFF that have since come out of this 17-10 victory. But ultimately, I want to present that and say that, well, yes, that is a prolific defense the Jaguars went up against. And we're going to look at that offensive line and how they graded out. But that passing attack in Houston is unsustainable right now. The offensive operation at large is unsustainable. As subscribers to the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook already know, got some intel from some folks in Houston that, let's just say, I don't know if Nick Caley will be long for the position. I am interested to see how DeMeco Ryans and company rebound, if they rebound at all. But without further ado, I've delayed it long enough. Numbers for your Jaguars. Since I brought up the defense for the Texans, let's hit the offensive line for your Jaguars. One of the biggest storylines for me coming out of the first 3 weeks of the NFL season has been the play of Anton Harrison. You guys heard me say it on Twitter. I said it at the Mo Bryan NFL Notebook. While everyone in this town was running off Walker Little this past spring, and don't you worry, we're going to get to the Jaguars left tackle here in just a second. The bigger question mark from what I was told around the league and in the building at the Miller Electric Center was the massive year ahead of the former first-round right tackle that the Jaguars drafted in 2023. He answered the bell when it came to the competition. Liam Coen, very forthright throughout training camp, that Anton has to have a big year. We are challenging him. We are rotating him out at right tackle at times. They were putting Fred Johnson in. They were rotating at times Patrick McCarry when they were trying him at different positions, Chuma Edoga. And outside of expecting, there was one practice where they would rotate Anton in at left tackle instead of Walker Little. It was never the inverse of we're trying to create competition for Walker or we are trying to give Anton an opportunity to take Walker Little's left tackle position. It was always we are creating competition at the right tackle position. And he has, again, answered the bell through 3 weeks of the regular season. Anton Harrison has allowed just 2 pressures in 3 games, according to Pro Football Focus. He is the number 2 rated right tackle in pass pro, next to only future Hall of Famer Lane Johnson, fellow Oklahoma Sooner as well. Why does this all matter? Because I mentioned that Texans defense. Will Anderson, according to PFF, the number 1 win rate for any edge rusher in the National Football League through 3 games of the NFL season at 31.5%. Danielle Hunter at number 9 at 23.7%. And again, Anton Harrison, just 1 pressure allowed against the Texans, 2 through 3 games. And the pass block win rate when left on an island, he has a pass block win rate when he is left with no help from a guard, a running back, or a tight end, is 95% success. That is impressive. It's also important to note that he has only been left on an island 45% of the time. Walker Little's only been left on an island 49% of the time through these first 3 games of the 2025 season, because last year they weren't getting that chipping help. Press Taylor's offense called for 5-set drop back. Just have all 5 offensive linemen just drop back 45, 50 times per game, and they'll figure it out from there. These 2 tackles are both still young in their maturation. They need consistent chipping help, especially going up against 2 top 10, statistically speaking, edge rushers in the National Football League. They got that help on Sunday. That's a credit to their play caller and their head coach and Liam Coen and the offensive operation at large. Now to Walker Little. Much maligned still by many in this town. 8 pressures allowed against the Houston Texans, 12 on the season. But it's important to note, he predominantly had the assignment of Trey Hendrickson week 2. Trey Hendrickson, number 7 in pass rush win rate, according to PFF, along the edge position at 24.7%. He gave up some pressures to both Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter because, as Liam Coen once upon a time said, unlike Trey Hendrickson, where he kind of picks a spot and stays there, those 2 guys are interchangeable. They're swapping spots. They're moving up and down the defensive front. Walker Little has been left on an island 49% of the time, just shy of 50% of the time. Again, still a massive job opportunity for both he and Anton to get help and to continue to stack up wins because they're getting help from either the guard, the tight end, or the running back. But ultimately, I think that it's going to be interesting to see how defenses now match up against these two tackles. Because the reality is that in perhaps a previous era, you would just say, "Oh, I'm Chris Jones, and I know Anton Harrison's playing his second career game. I'm going to go after him, and I'm gonna line myself up against the rookie." And I know that to be a fact because Chris Jones found one of my tweets about Anton Harrison going up against Chris Jones and his reflection upon it, and he quote tweeted it back in 2023. Now, if you can have two tackles that, well, yes, they both require help along that offensive line, if they can successfully stack up wins play after play, even if it's not perfect, it at the very least forces the defense to maybe move pieces around. And in turn, as an offensive line, you could try to create mismatches, or at the very least, you better be on your toes in case push does come to shove. Let's see who's hanging out in the club so far as we continue here on a Tuesday. Reed is hanging out in the club looking for news on De'Ami Brown's injury on YouTube. Reed, I do not have any intel on that. All I do know is that I saw a lot of folks on Twitter that were panicked. I think ultimately today's a really important day for De'Ami Brown in terms of what we hear nationally. Again, you heard Mike Evans is out for 3 to 4 weeks, probably not going to return until October 30th. That Bo Hardegree is taking over play calling for the Tennessee Titans. Jackson Dart will start for the New York Giants. All of that has been announced today on a Tuesday, a day that traditionally is an off day across the National Football League, or at the very least for players. And so I think if De'Ami Brown's injury was serious, we would have heard about it now from some sort of national channel, or someone like myself on the local scene would have potentially been keyed in. And from what Liam Coen said at his Monday press conference, it's still too early. They're still evaluating. I think that no news is good news. I think you would have heard otherwise if this was a significant injury. It still could mean he misses this game against the Niners. It very much could mean that. But at the very least, I don't think if it was a season-ending injury, we would have heard about it by now. Let's see who else we got. Brian, the war is won in the trenches. Amen to that, brother man. And of course, you guys can comment live. There's about 300 of you hanging out right now between Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and of course, our friends hanging out at the actionnewsjax.com live stream, as well as actionnewsjax's .2 channel. Some other notes from me before we bring CBS Sports' JP Acosta into the club. Josh Hines-Allen, NFL Pro Focus has him at 8th in pressure rate percentage in the National Football League. He is number 2 with 18 credited pressures through 3 weeks of the NFL season, just a half sack to show for it. He had 6 pressures against the Houston Texans, as did his running mate, Trayvon Walker. It's proof, though, that you need to watch the games because he is creating mismatches along an offensive line and a defensive front that in turn forces the opposition to account for him, potentially free up Trayvon Walker, maybe even free up Mason Smith. Oh, she went there. He had 2 pressures on Sunday. Eric Armstead teamed up with Josh Hines-Allen for the other half of that sack. So, you never know. You never know what by having a bona fide number 1 pass rusher can do for you in addition to simply generating sacks. And Josh Hines-Allen has certainly been that through 3 games so far this year. Anthony Campanile's defense is 5th in not allowing explosive plays through 3 weeks of the season. That is going up against, yes, a Carolina Panthers offense that did hang 30 on the Atlanta Falcons, let the record show, this past weekend, going up against the Houston Texans offense that we already discussed their woes. And then the Cincinnati Bengals offense, albeit with Jake Browning for the majority of that week 2 matchup. But still, the fact that they are 5th in not allowing explosive plays after being among the worst teams in that metric under Ryan Nielsen in 2024 is a massive step forward, with many of the characters on that defense still the same faces. They are, and this is one I'm going to be asking JP here in just a second after our first break. The Jaguars defense is number 1 in edge players dropping into coverage from the edge position. They're number 3 from the defensive tackle alignment. Some of you are going to hear that and you're going to panic and you're going to say, oh my goodness, we have Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker dropping into coverage too much. No. You have Jordan Lewis. You have nickel corner. You have Eric Murray as a safety lining up on the edge and lining up at the line of scrimmage, and then through a disguise, dropping back into coverage. That's a signature of the Brian Flores defense, and it's something that Anthony Campanile learned under Flores' tutelage while he was with the Miami Dolphins. Let's take our first break, but when we come back, JP is going to make his maiden voyage in the club. We're going to do a little 1-2-step film breakdown. We'll have some fun on the other side right here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel.
Nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade.
If you look good, you feel good, and the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Baker's Sports. It's a hometown business filled with hometown people trying to make you feel right at home.
Chris Conley, Jacksonville University.
Walker Wright, class of 2018, West Nassau High School.
Michael Young, Fletcher High School.
Baker's Sports started in a grassroots way and now outfits much of the Southeast.
Tony Mazzio, Sandwood High School, class of 2002.
High school sports, travel sports, youth sports of all kinds. They are a one-stop shop carrying Nike, Adidas, Under Armour brands, and more.
Vincent Caldes, Oak Leaf High School.
Samuel Coffrin, Paxton School for Advanced Studies.
Whether it's sports teams on the field or it's your team in the workplace, like our Action Sports Jacks team, and community events like the Dream 18 Golf Tournament, and many others.
Cole Tilley, Hilliard High School.
Reagan Webb, Eagles View Academy.
Look good, feel good, play good with Baker Sports. Custom sports apparel since 1997. Shop with the hometown team at bakersport.com.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
It's been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax PAL.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Services North Florida Recycling Center. You can make this process even more efficient. By utilizing those 3 steps, Republic Services can help you become a better recycler in your home. Learn more at Recycling Simplified. JacksonvilleJaguarsQB.com.
Welcome back into a Tuesday edition of Club 904. Mia O'Brien, and excited to welcome our next guest into Club 904 for the very first time. For those of you streaming live on any of the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 channels, bear with us as we get the video popping. There he is, CBS Sports JP Acosta. JP, I got to tell you, I'm walking into the studio, and Brett Martineau stops me, sports director of Action Sports Jacks, hanging out with us on the postgame show, and he goes, "Wait, wasn't JP just like a Jags fan in college like 5 minutes ago?" And I was like, yeah, he was, Brent. And now he's working for CBS Sports down in South FLA. So proud of you, brother, man, and appreciate you hopping on with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me. As much as I get to talk about the NFL nationally now, I always enjoy talking Jags. That's always one of the first games I turn on after every week.
Well, and the beautiful part about it is you're not just turning on the games, you're breaking them down on CBS Sports, yes, on the timeline, on X, Twitter, whatever the kids are calling it these days. So since Austen Lane has to catch a flight for a UFC fight in Perth, Australia, I think Perth's in Australia, right? Correct me if I'm wrong there, JP. He's headed down under, that much I know. New Zealand, Australia, it's all the same. But because he is missing today's film breakdown, what we like to call the 1-2 step here on Club 904, JP is going to break down a little tape for us. We're going to look at one offensive aspect of the Jaguars game plan, that being the run game. And then we're going to look at one play on defense, with that being Jordan Lewis's interception against the Houston Texans. But before we get to that, initial impressions of the Liam Coen offense, defense, Jacksonville Jaguars team so far. Let me also get your one shot popping, JP. Give me 1 second. And perfect. We got the 2-shot, we got the 1-shot, we got the 1-2 step coming up. But JP, initial impressions of the 2025 Jaguars so far.
It feels like this team actually has an idea and a plan for what they want to do. I think last year with Doug Peterson and the entire Doug Peterson era, you really struggled to figure out what the Jaguars wanted to be good at. What were you trying to hang your hat on? And for something that, Doug Peterson was a very long tenured coach, Liam Coen has brought an idea, a vision for what he wants this Jaguars offense and defense to be. Offensively, I think they have done such a good job at the line of scrimmage and winning on the ground that I think it's really affected how they throw the ball and what kind of passes they attack, where areas they attack as a passing offense. You're not seeing a lot of explosive plays downfield, but I think those shots, we saw it in the Jaguars game against the Texans on Sunday. Those shots are going to be there. Those shots are still trying to be unlocked in this offense, but right now they are so good at creating yards after the catch opportunities. The run game's popping off. You're getting a lot of cool stuff in the screen game, which is exactly what Liam Coen brings from Tampa Bay. So you're seeing a lot more really cool stuff for Travis Etienne, Bishal Tootin. Both those guys have been phenomenal in this new role and in this new offense. And I think Brenton Strange has had a really great start to the year as sort of this blocker and 11 personnel, and also just this pseudo underneath target that can win after the catch. He has been such a big part of the offense, and I've loved this defense. I've loved what they've done, and I've loved how the new additions to the defense have just fit perfectly in their roles. I think Dennis Gardeck was a July signing that now gives them the ability to be in their base fronts, but you can walk them down, you can play them on the edge, you can drop them into coverage. That versatility is what every NFL team is doing right now. And I think that those new signings, the Jordan Lewis, Eric Murray, and then combined with a lot of growth, I think Devin Lloyd is having a great start to the year. Trayvon Walker's having a great start to the year. It looks like Foye Oluokun has gotten a step back, after looking kind of slow in 2024, it feels like this team has gotten much faster, and it feels like everything is much more streamlined, which you wouldn't expect considering last year Ryan Nielsen had them all play man coverage all the time, but it feels like they're playing a lot faster.
We're going to dive into all of that on the defensive side of the football, but we are going to start on offense with this 1-2 step film breakdown, JP. If you have questions for JP, a couple of you have already hit us up on X. We're going to hit those at the end of this film breakdown. I'd also like to note, I think, JP, you may be the only human being when discussing the Jaguars' biggest additions. You led with Dennis Gardeck. There are a lot of people at the Miller Electric Center right now who are loving that because they would agree with you. One of the more underrated signings that the Jaguars have made in the 2025 season. But let's get right to it. Let's get the film breakdown popping. Let me pull this up for us here, and there it is. So we are going to start. This is a Tank Bigsby, or sorry, not Tank Bigsby. Wow, a Travis Etienne, RIP Tank Bigsby in Jacksonville. This is a Travis Etienne run that you actually clipped earlier this week following the Jaguars' 17-10 win. Why was this run in particular of interest to you?
I think it's so interesting because of the way that Liam Coen uses motion and the way that he uses gap scheme to get Travis Etienne downhill. I think that's where Travis Etienne shines the most. I think his vision has improved a lot since his rookie year, but he's at his best when he sees the lane and he is going full speed. This is a really cool way of getting into what's called G lead. So instead of looking like counter, which everybody sees in the NFL now, you get Makari pulling to the back towards the tight end, and you get a body on a body. You get a big guy on a big guy, Makari blocking the edge. You get Brenton Strange blocking Jalen Petre, and then look at all the bodies at the second level. I believe that's Ezra Cleveland. If Ezra Cleveland gets a little bit better of a block, I think you get another explosive play. But I think this is so notable because the way that they use motion to bring guys out of the box, then bring guys into the box. So you have Travis Hunter go into motion. That brings Jalen Petre into the box, and that moves the backside linebacker, Christian Harris, or that's Henry To'oTo'o. You move Henry To'oTo'o out of the box. So now he's out of the run fit because he has to account for the Travis Hunter jet sweep motion. And now you have Brenton Strange, big guy, great blocker, on Jalen Petre, who is a good run defender, but also a small guy. So you're getting advantages within the box count. You're manipulating the box count and the bodies within the tackle box in the run game, which I thought the Jaguars have done a really good job of through the first 3 weeks.
So next video, let me pull this up. This is going to be a Bashal Tutin. While I'm pulling this video up, JP, I do think that, and we discussed this with Matt Hamilton of the Up and Adams show 2 weeks ago here on Club 904. This idea of Travis Etienne is seeing the field better in his fourth full season, his fifth overall season in the National Football League. Obviously did not play his rookie year with the list rank injury. Why? Like, how does a running back who it felt like, and I know for a fact from talking to people from the previous regime, it felt like he was not seeing the field. Now he is seeing the field. How can that happen just like that?
I think it's just the game slowing down a little bit for him. I think especially with running backs, you see it all the time where it's like the whole don't draft running backs early because they'll be better on their second team. But you've played a lot more. You have a lot more snaps under your belt. So I think Travis Etienne having a lot more reps, I think being able to be in this scheme that gets him downhill quicker, I think his vision is really shining. I think the big 71-yard run against Carolina was a great example of how he's grown in manipulating defenders and how he uses his vision to set guys up now. And I think that being in this offense, being in an offense where you can really you put your foot in the ground and you go downhill as fast as you can, I think that really helps Travis Etienne as a runner, and it really accentuates a lot of his talents, which is his speed.
You guys have been great with a ton of questions on YouTube, especially. I see all of the comments and the questions for JP. We're going to get to them here, but let's first take a look. Thank you to Jacob Gibbs for putting together all of Bashal Tutin snaps against the Houston Texans into one lovely videotape. That, of course, is the 1-yard touchdown run, his first touch of the game, JP. What have you seen so far from the 4th-round pick out of Virginia Tech?
He just runs with juice. And I love to say he runs with juice because you can tell in the way that he moves. It's like he bounces around the field, and he's so good in those zone scheme runs. You're seeing a lot of it in Jacksonville where you're running a lot of split zone. They really like that with Brenton Strange coming back across, like on that video there, where he's coming back and hitting the defensive end. But the way that Bashal Tutin is able to set guys up on zone runs and then puts his foot in the ground and accelerates. He gets upfield. He is a no-nonsense runner. As soon as he puts his foot in the ground, that was something that stood out at Virginia Tech. But I really just think his speed and the way that he moves and bounces around to find the open lane has really helped this offense out. And something that actually surprised me against Houston was how good he was through contact and how he was pretty good at breaking tackles. And really, I think there was a play where I think Al-Shaair hit him at
it was this one
for like a 2-yard gain. Yeah, and then he kept moving his feet. He kept going for like 6 yards where he gets met in the hole and he still keeps turning his legs. He keeps moving forward. That's something that you really like to see out of a young back who's a little smaller. That contact balance is going to keep him on the field. So I've really been impressed with what he's done in the run and passing game, but it's that speed, the acceleration, and the explosiveness that really stands out watching him.
So let's look at these two plays in particular. This is the one where he turns what could have been a 1 or a 2 yard gain into a 6 yard gain, to your point. Walk us through the actual blocking, though, that you see from this offensive line, because I think that is also a massive role in why Bashal Tutin and Travis Etienne have had success. And this is a top 5 rushing outfit through 3 weeks of the season. And I think it's because the offensive line, I said it off the top of the show, they're not just dropping back into 5 protection in the passing game, and in the run game, it's not just 5 guys going forward, and you've got the tight end split out wide in the receiving game.
Yeah, the Jaguars actually, according to Next Gen Stats, they're the only team within the top 10 of EPA per carry with a stuff rate below 10%, which means they are not getting hit at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage. They have done a fantastic job of keeping their running backs clean on this play. I think it's such a fun one because it's one back power. So you're pulling Ezra Cleveland to the tight end side, and you just get down blocks everywhere. But what happens is To'o is so quick filling this gap that Cleveland isn't able to get to him on time. But what stands out about this one is Bashal Tutin gets skinny, and he's able to manipulate that space and force To'o wide, and then he cuts back in between them through that really small gap that's within the gap. And then he's able to keep his feet moving, keep moving forward, get 6 yards out of this. So it was really impressive watching him create after the contact. But the offensive line has done such a good job. I thought this was a really good test for them because Houston plays so far uphill. They play so aggressively. And I think it's actually going to be another great indicator for what they can do against San Francisco next week, because they play a very similar style of defense with their defensive line, their linebackers getting uphill as fast as possible. And this one is a split zone. But the difference on this one between split zone and then the one back power that we saw, this is more of a zone run where you're running towards an area. You're running with Bashal Tutin, he's running off the right guard's butt. He wants to make sure he sets up the linebackers and then cuts back and finds the open lane. But what you really get is Brenton Strange, who I know I said has been a good blocker. He gets enough. He just gets enough of the defensive end. All you got to do is just be a traffic cone. If you just sit there and make him have to go through you, I think that's a good job on these split blocks, because you're able to wind this all the way back following the split flow because of how aggressive the Texans defense is. But I think Ezra Cleveland does a really good job of getting back across on this defensive tackle, because most times what you're seeing is you want the guard to get up to the linebacker, but because of how aggressive Walker Little is in his double team with knocking him back into Pensacola, you get Ezra Cleveland staying on his block, and then Walker Little going to find somebody else. I've actually thought Walker Little has played great as a run blocker this year, and it's that physicality. He and Ezra Cleveland on the left side have been doing some amazing work on combos, double teams. I really want to see them lean more into that, especially as the passing game still continues to grow.
I love it, JP, especially because we let off the program talking about some of the grades that have come out for both Anton Harrison and Walker Little. This idea, and you saw it on the streets too of Twitter and X over the last 6-7 months, people in this town were writing off Walker Little as that's who this new regime is going to chase off. Instead, it was Anton Harrison who was pushed to the brink by the new regime, who was challenged. He's answered accordingly, but I appreciate that shout that Walker, well, yes, he's had to go against Trey Hendrickson and Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter in successive weeks. That is not exactly, a walk in the park, we'll call it, in terms of pass blocking. But the reality is that if he's getting after it in the run game and he's contributing that way, if you've got 2 tackles who are bona fide, guaranteed top 12 at their position, what does that do for a defense?
What it does, especially from the defensive side of the ball, you have to find other ways to get pressure. If you have 2, I'm going to call them mute buttons, left tackle, right tackle, you don't have to worry about sending help. You don't have to worry about sending extra chips or protection at your tackles, because you can leave them on islands. If you can leave your tackles on islands and they can win in pass rush situations, that opens up the entire offense. You can run more 5-out passing calls. You can get your tight end out in the passing game. You can do all this stuff because you don't have to worry about devoting bodies to protecting your quarterback. So the development and the growth from Anton Harrison and Walker Little through the early part of the season has been really cool, and it's been something that I have really wanted to see, especially from both of them, but through a new regime that really seems like the offensive line coach, the coaching has really embraced their strengths.
All right, let's do one more in the 1-2 step. Those are our offensive plays in this film breakdown. Now it's time to look on the defensive side of the ball. And JP, full disclosure, folks, JP was the one. Oh, no, it's not loading. No, come on now. I need that screen recording to come up. We need to see Jordan Lewis's interception. All right, of course, technology doesn't want to work with us. That's okay. You have this one memorized, I know, at this point in time, JP. You have a lot of love you want to give to the Jaguars' new nickel corner. Walk us through that interception of CJ Stroud and where Jordan Lewis was in the right position and how he's impacted this defense.
So it's actually just an incredibly, incredibly heads-up play by Jordan Lewis. The Jaguars are in cover 3, and Jordan Lewis is the hook to flat defender. He is defending everything from the out route to a flat route on that side of the field. The Texans are trying to game him. They're trying to get this flood concept, this sail concept with the tight end running a little sail route, which is a deep out route. It looks like the sail on a sailboat, which is why they call it sail. And then they have a flat route. They're trying to get Jordan Lewis into a bind. They're trying to get him to play 2v1. But what Jordan Lewis does is he plays the flat route, and then as soon as CJ Stroud thinks he has the open lane for this interception, he plays it perfectly and gets under and gets the INT. And I think that heads-up play, though, that nose for the ball is something the Jaguars just really haven't had in the last couple of years. They've had, I believe, 3 takeaways in the first 3 games for the first time in franchise history. That is something that obviously it's never been seen before by a Jaguars defense. But again, it is an emphasis on players who want to get the ball, who want to go and create chaos and create negative plays. And that's something that Anthony Campanile, I think, has done a great job of creating chaos, not only through the blitzes with Jordan Lewis and Eric Murray, but the idea of pressure. It's the showing everybody and then dropping everybody out. It's the, we're going to line up Devin Lloyd late. One of the first sacks in this game was a late Devin Lloyd shift onto the line of scrimmage, and they're running a pass rush game where Devin Lloyd goes and hits the right tackle who's trying to block Trayvon Walker as kind of a pass rush game, a stunt to get Trayvon Walker isolated on the running back, because they know the Texans like to 4-man slide the protection. So what they'll do is they'll slide 4 of their offensive linemen to one side, then the running back and the backside offensive tackle take care of whoever's on the other side. So knowing that they're basically a man-to-man, they're running a pick and roll. Devin Lloyd and Trayvon Walker just ran a pick and roll for a sack against the Texans. And it was really cool because you don't normally see linebackers picking off offensive tackles for your defensive linemen to attack a running back. But it's those kinds of things where you're getting your best players into situations where they can win. And then Josh Hines-Allen on Sunday was the best player on the field. When you needed him to be the best player on the field, he dominated the matchup against a completely overmatched rookie left tackle where, one of my favorite plays from him, and again, this is very niche, but one of my favorite plays, he had been setting up Ursary with the bull rush the entire game, putting his hand into his chest and pushing him backwards. It is the most simple thing because the quickest way to a point is a straight line. All you're doing is running straight through the chest of the tackle. But on one of the sacks that he was able to split with, I believe it was Armstead or Smoot, he goes to set up this bull rush, and Ariante Ursary's feet stop because he's getting ready to catch him to try and anchor against this bull rush. Once your feet stop, you lose the rep. And Josh Hines-Allen was able to cross-chop him, get to the outside, and he was able to get a sack. He is playing at an incredibly high level. I think Trayvon Walker is playing at a really high level. So you're seeing all the best players on the defense take up their play a notch because they're constantly in attack mode. They are constantly playing fast. And that's something that I think has been a really big standout for a Jaguars defense that has been really good.
Right. And so schematically, couple questions for you, JP. And of course, lots of questions coming in. Over 500 of you watching live right now between X, YouTube, the live stream, and much, much more over on actionnewsjacks.com. What my concern is, and it's not with regards to the simulated pressure. I rattled off the stat off the top of the show in case you missed it. The Jaguars are number one in edge players or players that are lined up at the edge at the snap, dropping into coverage. They're number three in players who are lined up at the defensive tackle position, dropping into coverage. That's not saying Josh Hines-Allen is dropping into coverage every play, folks. That is saying that you have almost the entire defense lined up at the line of scrimmage, and then they start moving in multiple directions as soon as the ball is snapped. That's a disguise. That's a signature of Brian Flores, Vic Fangio, all of those mentors of Anthony Campanile. But I don't want to call it a concern, but it's something that was brought to me as not something that Ryan Nielsen did well, but this idea of at what point in time will this defense have to go more press man, or at the very least, will certain players on the field have to go to a more man-to-man operation because that soft zone underneath was open for Nico Collins pretty much anytime he wanted it on Sunday. He just really wasn't able to capitalize. And I thought the coverage from Travis Hunter and Tyson Campbell was above average, unlike what we're seeing online with regards to those two players.
So I think with the soft coverage, especially when you show those simulated pressures and those pressure looks, you want them to throw the ball hot. You want them to get the ball out quick because normally it's on obvious passing situations. You're in a 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8. They get the ball out quick. You rally and tackle. And you get off the field.
Which we know is like a staple of Anthony Campanile. Like the number one thing he wants to do, rally to the football, short tackling.
Rally and tackle. It's 3rd and 8. You give up 3 or 4 on 3rd and 8, you're getting off the field. And that's something that I think the Jaguars have done a really good job of. The biggest thing for this defense is it came up during the Cincy game, and I thought the simulated pressures were fine, but situationally, some of them I probably would have shied away from. And I actually think Anthony Campanile did a good job of sort of shying away from those high leverage situations with simulated pressures. The first one that comes to mind against Cincy was the T. Higgins touchdown, where you have everybody lined up the line of scrimmage, Tyson Campbell on an island against T. Higgins, and T. Higgins wins that rep because he is T. Higgins. But I think where you've seen a change and where they've adapted, which I'm a little excited about, is they're not necessarily needing to do that. And knowing that you don't have to show all those simulated pressure looks against the Texans, they didn't have to do all that stuff because Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker were kicking butt. So we're not going to mess with what's working, like if it's working and Josh Hines-Allen is kicking butt, we don't need to show those simulated pressures. We don't need to constantly be in them. I think the man coverage is going to be called into question, especially later in the season when it's like, I guess to say, like, you got to go get a bucket on 3rd down. You're going to play a lot of teams play man coverage on 3rd down. And I wonder if this is when we'll see more of Travis Hunter because he's still playing a little bit more 50-50. I think he's playing a lot more defensively than we
expected, for sure. Yeah.
But I think having him on defense, I said when they drafted him, he should be a corner, and then you mix in package plays for him as a receiver. His ability as a corner to make big plays in those zone coverages and make plays on the ball in man, I think that's going to be so huge for a defense that wants to eventually play more man coverage, and you can be more versatile. I noticed back in the beginning of the season against the Panthers, they're going to play a lot of dime. So they're going to play a lot of 6 DBs.
Ton.
Yeah, Wingard, Dewey playing a linebacker, which is incredibly hilarious, incredibly good for him, who is basically – a banshee at dime linebacker. You play all these DBs on the field, you're going to want to play man coverage. So if you can get Travis Hunter more involved, get him more reps, get him confident in himself at DB, I think you have a really good chance at being really good in man coverage.
Let's hit a couple questions because we've got a bunch of them and we don't have a ton of time with JP, who's been very gracious with his time. This one's from John on X. He says, was it the Texans scheme that led to a lack of running attack in the first half or play calling? And then number 2, it was mentioned on the CBS commentary about Trevor Lawrence's lack of success against zone-heavy defenses. How is that fixed, JP?
So I think, again, the Texans are such a difficult team to prep and play for, obviously, because they are so downhill. They are so fast at the line of scrimmage. They want to get upfield and create negative plays. And I think their defensive tackles actually gave the Jaguars a lot of a lot of problems up front because of how quick they are getting up the field. But where I do think the Jaguars in the second half really had some success is getting after them in gap scheme. And the best way to get after a really aggressive defense up front is you trap them. You make them think the ball's going upfield, and then you just run right where you left them. So I think the Jaguars adapted a little bit in the second half, especially because the first half, they were still trying to figure out what the heck they wanted to do against this Texans defense. But the Trevor against zone is really interesting because I think my biggest thing with Trevor is I think he should scramble more.
Agreed.
And the reason I think he should scramble more is he's constantly a tight window thrower. That is something he believes in his arm more than anybody else in the world. And I think it's awesome. There's a throw to Parker Washington in this game where he zips it right behind To's hand and right in front of Azeez Al-Shaair, nails him for a first down. It's incredible. But I do think sometimes he's going to force passes when he doesn't have to because he's not willing to run as much. And then on the game-winning drive, he had that big scramble. And I think having that ability to run against zone coverage, it'll loosen it up. It won't necessarily be a magical, like, boom, offense solved because Trevor's running. But taking those 5-yard scrambles, taking those 6-yarders, that will help keep the offense on the field. You're not always having to throw in the tight windows. You're not always having to wrap the ball around 3 defenders to move the chains. You can just take the easy completion. You can take the easy scramble and stay on the field.
Let's go to that offensive side of the ball. Let's go to everyone's favorite question around the National Football League. Is there something wrong with Brian Thomas Jr., JP? Because Brian on YouTube, who also goes by Ether Dark on X, promised for you and I that he had a hot take ready. It's a multi-layered question, so brace yourself for this one. Brian Thomas Jr. shouldn't be playing as a wide receiver 1. This isn't a knock on his talent. His whole career, he's been the 2. He was behind Neighbors in college and then Kirk and Ingram when he first got here. He only was moved to the 1 due to injuries. He needs a 1 to run behind. He's not a diva-ceiver. He's an assassin from the shadows. Better when he's not getting attention. He's a 2 with 1 talent. Great guy. You're forcing him into a leadership role in year 2 when he really doesn't want that kind of attention. He is more like a 1.5. Also super proud of JP. Love watching the podcast.
Thank you. I wouldn't say Brian Thomas Jr. isn't a 1. I think he's in a leadership role because he is the best receiver on the team. He is a guy that has the carryover. I think the biggest reason why Brian Thomas Jr. struggled a little bit is I think his route diet is a little more different than it was last year. Last year, it's all outbreaking. All of it's curls, hitches, you're running comebacks, and then obviously the goes, the verticality. This year, he's running a little bit more over the middle. He's having to do a little bit more dirty work. And I think that's coming with a little bit of growing pains. He is a second-year receiver. And some of the focus drops are concerning, but you're getting them out the way early. And I think that the faith that Trevor Lawrence and this offense showed in him at the end of the game to go and win the game, I think that matters a lot for a guy like him whose confidence was visibly shaken throughout the first few weeks of the season. I mean, coming back from dropping the 3rd down where I think it's actually a really nice design play to get him isolated on the out route where he kind of slips a little bit and then the ball hits him in the chest and he just, I think he hits his head with the ball. It's like, yeah, you can see the guy is frustrated. And then to come back with the end breaker over the middle against cover 0 and run 46 yards, that is something that I think is going to be a huge confidence boost for him. So I would say just keep giving him time. This is a new offense for him. He's running a lot more over the middle stuff. I think the whole hospital ball thing was very funny last week. When
the whole internet, I wanted to burn the internet down, JP. I'm like, enough. Like now, every time someone throws an in-breaking route, it's like, oh, hospital ball. Anything that's a crossing route is now a hospital ball. I feel like to everyone in Jaguars Twitter land.
Yeah, every time you throw a route against cover 2 over the middle, hospital ball. And it's like, no, this is just defense. This is just good defense. And sometimes the best receiver on the team has to go be the best receiver on the team and make a catch over the middle. So
and that's a really important point, JP. And we had Dan Griffiths on last week, a buddy of yours, I believe, as from your time here, local Jags media. But, Dan and I broke down the numbers. Brian Thomas Jr., 9.7% of his routes run in 24 were crossers. 20.9% of them are crossers of his routes run, total routes run. That was through 2 weeks of the NFL season. And obviously, considering there was an in-breaking route on the final game-winning play or the play that set up the game winner, you could contend that Liam Coen is not going to be deterred by any yips or any notion of, well, Brian Thomas Jr. fears contact. He's not going to be deterred by that because, to your point, if you are a number one wide receiver, if you look at the Jamar Chases and Justin Jeffersons of the world, they will go across the middle of the field. No issue. That's what separates them.
Yeah, that separates the good from the great. If he wants to be great, he will continue to make those catches over the middle of the field. And I don't even think that I don't know if he's scared of contact per se. Like, I don't think it's he's completely scared of contact. I do think that he's settling in zones when Trevor wants him to keep going, and then he's continuing when Trevor wants him to settle. And I think there's just a little bit of mistiming. There's miscommunication. And it's something that they need to figure out as the season goes along. But again, we're in week 4. I'm glad that these things are happening in week 4 and not week 12 when things are going to start really getting dicey. So hopefully it starts to improve, but I think you're going to continue to see his diet over the middle of the field stay about where it is.
Especially when the Jaguars are 2-1 heading into week 4. We will gladly take these little nuances that need to be sorted out with a 2-1 record than if it was a 0-3 record, let's say. JP, real quick before we let you go, looking ahead to the 49ers, matchup-wise, no Nick Bosa. We still don't know if it will be Brock Purdy or Mac Jones under center. What excites you most on the Jaguars side of things when it comes to this week 4 showdown?
I think the thing that excites me the most is going up against an offense that has a bona fide threat as a receiver in Christian McCaffrey, and then Ricky Pearsall, who's played really well. There's going to be another opportunity, another chance for this defense to put a very good schematically, a very well-designed offense on their pelt for teams that they have sort of shut down. So I want to see if Josh Hines-Allen, if Trayvon Walker can continue their success against a guy like Trent Williams, who is still one of, if not the best left tackle in football. If they can get some really good play out of that defense, if they can continue to force turnovers, something that Mac Jones is going to do. Mac Jones is going to throw the ball up. Mac Jones, if he's pressured, is going to throw the ball up, but he's going to get the ball out quick. So that's something that I really want to see. I want to see them rally. I want to see them tackle really well and then get off the field on third downs. They've done a really good job of getting off the field on third down. Just give the offense more opportunities. And like we've seen with this offense, it might not look pretty a lot, but they know how to score when they need to score. They know when to put the ball in the end zone. I'm excited to see this run game go up against a very good run defense, a very physical and fast defense. It's going to be really tough for them, especially with Fred Warner sort of lurking in the middle of the field. But I do think there are a lot of opportunities on the outside to attack them.
Brian says 5 interception game coming. We don't know if it'll be Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy also threw 2 picks against the Seattle Seahawks in week 1. So, hey, don't call it a comeback. Maybe for the Jags, not so much for one Brock Purdy. JP, so appreciate you taking some time to hang out in Club 904 with us. Where can folks find you in the CBS world and beyond this next week?
Yeah, you can find me at Pushing the Pile, a podcast I co-host with Mike Renner and Kyle Long. You can find me on CBS Sports HQ talking everything football. And then I might have something pretty cool about Brian Thomas Jr. coming out on CBS Sports Written. So stay on the tune for that.
Almost like I knew it was coming. I had no idea it was coming, folks. But I know that the listeners and the Jaguars fans will be keeping an eye out for that. JP, appreciate you hopping by, brother man. Let's do it again sometime.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
And again, that is JP Acosta. You can find him at CBS Sports HQ on CBSSports.com and much, much more. I know so many questions we didn't get to. You guys are awesome. There's over 500 of you guys, almost 600 that are watching live right now. Leave a comment, leave a tweet for myself or JP if you are on X, Twitter, whatever you're calling it these days. We'd love to hear from you because we want to keep growing the pod. We'll get JP back on here. We'll get Austen back on here once he gets back from Australia. On Thursday, we are going to have an elite Club 904 lineup because Joe Shasky, the Butcher Boy, out there from 95.7 The Game, the morning roast. He is the Dan Hicken, if you may, of San Francisco sports media. Someone's going to clip this and say that that's false, but we love Joe. He's crazy. And hopefully we're going to get a couple of the boys from the morning roast hopping in. So we'll have multi-hosts, multi-guests, and we will break down the Jaguars Week 4 matchup with the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, you should like and subscribe to the Action Sports Jax 24/7 channel if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on X, Twitch, wherever you are finding this podcast, and know that all episodes of Club 904 are available on demand wherever you get your podcast as well as YouTube. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us in the club here today. Again, we will be back at 1 p.m. live on Thursday with the boys from 95.7 The Game in San Francisco, talking Jags, Niners. Until then, you can find me on Twitter at Mia O'Brien TV, and we will catch you on Thursday.
To get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. And most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
If you look good, you feel good. And the medical professionals here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics are here to make you feel your best. I'm on camera every week, and I have a confession to make. I'm not always confident in my appearance. Can you see my dark circles? Is my makeup highlighting my fine lines instead of covering them up? I question it all. So when I found out about the wide variety of procedures here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics, I knew help was just one appointment away. Medical Director Dr. Megan Deacon Casey and her board-certified physicians have been using the latest in cutting-edge technology for the last 10 years, giving men and women their personal confidence boost. From Botox, fillers, Morpheus 8, and so much more. The hardest part was figuring out what I needed. Thankfully, the medical team walked me through what would work best for me through a free consultation. Come look and feel your best with the team here at Ponte Vedra Vein and Aesthetics. Visit them at one of their 2 locations, either over in Ponte Vedra or on the south side.
Baker's Sports. It's a hometown business filled with hometown people trying to make you feel right at home.
Chris Conley, Jacksonville University.
Walker Wright, class of 2018, West Nassau High School.
Michael Young, Fletcher High School.
Baker's Sports started in a grassroots way and now outfits much of the Southeast.
Tony Mazzio, Stanwood High School, class of 2002.
High school sports, travel sports, youth sports of all kinds. They are a one-stop shop carrying Nike, Adidas, Under Armour brands, and more.
Vincent Caldes, Oakleaf High School.
Samuel Coffrin, Paxton School for Advanced Studies.
Whether it's sports teams on the field or it's your team in the workplace, like our Action Sports Jax team, and community events like the Dream 18 Golf Tournament, and many others.
Colt Tilly, Hilliard High School.
Reagan Webb, Eagles View Academy.
Look good, feel good, play good with Baker Sports. Custom sports apparel since 1997. Shop with the hometown team at bakersport.com.
Empower a future, inspire a dream. It's a bold but simple mission for the Jacksonville Police Athletic League known as Jax PAL. Help the next generation of kids in Jacksonville shape a brighter future. Their after-school programs, teenage leadership programs. There's community outreach.
This has been just an awesome opportunity to be out here with my colleagues and do something good for the community. It's really been an interesting opportunity to just see everybody work together in a way that we don't normally in the office.
And there's sports. There are also ways you can help the next generation with a donation of any kind. Just visit jaxpal.org to get more information. Empower a future, inspire a dream with Jax Pal.
Most of us know how to throw. But you need to know what to throw. I'm not talking about footballs, baseballs, softballs. We're talking about those items you need to recycle. Republic Services explains it easy. Recycling simplified. 1. Know what to throw. When in doubt, throw it out. 2. Empty, clean, and dry those materials. It takes an extra minute, but it makes a big difference. And 3. Don't bag it. This makes the recycling process faster and more efficient. This is a look at the Republic Service